I promise I'm not going to call on anybody, so you don't have to look down at the floor. Welcome back to what is an extraordinary Alumni Weekend here at the Law School. We have upwards of 700 people who are coming back for Alumni Weekend, which breaks all records by every stretch. And needless to say, tomorrow evening's dinner is going to not going to be in the law school. Luckily enough, especially if you may have noticed, there's a construction site here, but down at the Art Museum, and we're going to take over the Art Museum for the entire evening and spread out in different parts. So I hope you get a chance to see your classmates, talk to your friends. For me, I love Alumni Weekend. I've been now at the law school on the faculty, over 25 years. I've been dean for 11 years. So reunion weekend is really a time to see my extended family, and I hope you feel the same way, an opportunity to see your classmates and everyone else. Now, this is a state of the law school, and I promise I will not be Bill Clinton and stay talking extra time. I know that I'm between you and cocktail receptions and seeing your classmates, so I will be ever vigilant in trying to be brief. What I do want to do is give you a snapshot of your alma mater and why you should be unbelievably proud of what's going on here, as well as to give you a chance to ask any questions you may have and pummel me about what's going on back at the law school. But what I thought I would do is to start out with a movie, right? A videotape, which we don't have popcorn, but imagine you have popcorn and think about the cocktails they're going to have in a few minutes. And just to give you a sense, this is a video of the new building. You may have noticed if you walked in, something's missing on Sansom Street, and we knocked the building down and are building a beautiful new expansion of the law school complex. But just to frame it for you, the law school campus is unique in American higher legal education. It is different from every other law school campus if you walk around. And the way it's different is that most law schools, they sort of zone things. There's a faculty office building, there is a sort of a faculty classroom building and sort of student lounges and offices, and they all go off to their sides. But the philosophy of this law school is to, in a sense, mix everything together. What the real estate people would say mixed zoning. So that we have offices next to lounges, next to classrooms. That started in Silverman Hall, which was built in 1900. It continues in this building, Gittes Hall. The Tannenbaum Library, in fact, now has classrooms and offices, and it's true with the new building. And the theory behind this, it's the DNA of Penn. We are a very diverse, very intellectually diverse school, lots of joint programs that I'll talk about. But this complex itself is a place where everybody comes together and connects. And if you were here 3 weeks ago, you would have seen hundreds of students connecting, conferences, hundreds of sort of sessions, workshops. And the idea is, while we're part of a wonderful, huge city and a large university, that this is a cocoon through which everybody comes together. And the new building really, in a sense, accentuates that. And we'll just have a 4-minute video which will show you what the new building will look like when it opens in about 6 months. that's what the new building will look like, which will, when it's finished and some more renovations, will complete this campus, which will be the nicest urban law campus in the country when it's done, just because it's 4 buildings integrated around a courtyard with light coming in, with spaces, 2 lounges where everybody connects with one another. Just a fantastic place. It's actually just an extension of what the complex looked like when every single one of you came here, but obviously it's deepened in a number of ways and gotten a little bit brighter. I must also mention, this is actually a very good time to be building. Needless to say, the costs of building have gone down over the last few years. So why it's turned out to be very nice. And we expect to move in December into the building completely. So we'll be, literally, if you come in January of next year, you'll be able to see a truly transformed physical plant, and there won't be the large dirt piles in the center as well. In any event, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what is sort of the specialness and the quality of the law school that this physical plant represents, and also to give you a chance to ask some questions about anything that you want to know about the law school. The law school, from a dean's perspective, has never been stronger than it is right now. It's on every level. And part of it is what we did, I think, starting about 15 years ago here at Penn, is we stepped back and asked the question, what is it that a legal education should do? What is it that should lawyers do that are different? And what can Penn do that is really unique and leads the country more than other law schools? And the answer was clear, that lawyers they know how to think, and first-year legal education is a marvelous way to teach people how to think, but that lawyers are in fields and in substantive areas. And if you're a lawyer, it's important, in a sense, to understand who your clients are, what's behind their motivation, and what's behind that field. And if you're interested in corporate law, knowing finance and knowing what corporate managers of companies are doing is critical. If you're interested in intellectual property, understanding what engineers and people in technology. If you're interested in communications, again, what is it people running communications companies? If you're interested in healthcare, bioethics interested, what doctors are doing. It's critical. And given that, Penn has a leadership advantage over every law school in the country, which is we sit next to as fine an array of law-related professional schools as you'll find in the country. And when I say next to, I literally mean next to. There's no major university in the country that you can walk a block to the engineering school, and 2 blocks to the business school, and 2 blocks to the medical school, and 1 block to the communication school. And it's part of this school. So what we decided we needed to do was to integrate our curriculum with the rest of the university. Not at the first year. The first year looks pretty much like it has for years and years. But in the upper years, both in recruiting faculty and in joint programs, to make the opportunities of this university available to them. And none of our peers really have the ability to do that. What we've done is added, we now have 30 joint programs between the law school and the upper year. I would say certainly close to half of our students either get a joint degree or a certificate in another school within the university. At this moment, half our faculty have appointments at the law school and at other schools within the university. And we have a seamless movement of students and faculty. Lots of joint courses between law faculty, medical faculty, business faculty, across the university, engineering faculty, where people can think through legal problems as they intersect in those areas. And that's occurred over the last 10 to 15 years. As part of this, we've grown our faculty, and had to because of specialization in the area, about 40% over the last decade. We started at about 32 standing members of the faculty at the beginning of the decade. We're now close to 48. Just to give you a sense of the history, Lou Pollack was dean of Penn Law School in 1975, and the standing faculty in 1975 was 32 people. Lou went to the alumni and the trustees at that time and said, we need to expand the faculty. We should be 41, 42. In 2000, we were still at 32. So it was clear we needed to grow the faculty, especially we had nobody teaching intellectual property. We had nobody teaching health law. Our corporate law group was great, but really wasn't big enough. I mean, I could go through the different areas. So we decided to both expand the faculty and expand these joint programs with the rest of the university. What that has meant is the faculty now, both in terms of people we've recruited and retained, are extraordinary. And I could give you sort of all sorts of examples of this in terms of the quality. I mean, last year they named the top 10 corporate law articles in the country. 5 were written by Penn Law faculty. It's an exceptional group across the board, and part of it is they want to be here because of the opportunities and the students in the community at the law school, but they want to be part of this university in which we connect. It's had an amazing influence on what occurs in the building. For example, this year we had conferences on healthcare reform where we sort of took it apart, did it jointly with the medical school. Conferences, really major conferences on Dodd-Frank. I could go down the list, but the most interesting conference we held, that was held 3 weeks ago, was a joint effort between our philosophy department and some people from the Department of Defense. The issue was, believe it or not, 3 weeks ago, the question of targeted killing. We had representatives from the Department of Defense come down and talk about the issue of targeted killing. We had philosophers, people from our law and philosophy group go through the issue of targeted killing. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, the most significant issue the United States is talking about is targeted killing. It's going to be published as a book with Oxford University Press. Needless to say, Oxford is very interested in getting the book out as we speak. The point is, every single major issue that this society confronts is talked about by our students and investigated in the building. And that's because of these relationships, whether it's questions of health, corporate, intellectual property communications, our relationship with the local communities in community development, the public service program, every single issue and as our society is focused on here. What's the impact on admissions? You know, it's embarrassing, I must say, I say this every year, the Dean of Admissions gets up at Admitted Students Weekend and tells the students that I, the Dean, would not be admitted to the law school this year. We have somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 applications for 240 places. They're just extraordinary. I could give you the numbers, but 99 percentile, 3.9 grades, just an exceptional group of people. We have more students from California now, from Pennsylvania. It's truly national, and it's global as well. About 10% of the class comes up from abroad. They are 36% of color, incredibly diverse, incredibly talented, unbelievably energetic in terms of their passion. If you come by the law school any part of the year, you will see upwards about of 100 different sort of conferences, workshops. You walk through the school, and so every single topic they're bringing in speakers and talking about. So it's an incredibly vibrant community. In terms of placement, I'm asked a lot, obviously, in terms of the downturn in the economy. It's not as good as it was 3 or 4 years ago, but we've actually done extremely well given the change in the outward economy. I never quote rankings, but I will say Princeton Review rated our placement #1 in the country, which is always nice to hear. When you're #1, you can as long as you don't quote it back to me when we're #2 next time. We, about 97% of last year's class was placed at graduation, which is extraordinary nationally. And part of what is in placement, it's so important, is we are geographically diverse. We draw students from around the country. We send them back around the country. Philadelphia has become actually of more interest to our students recently just because of the transformation in the city. We've done extremely well in clerkships, which has been a major focus recently. In the cycle, the yearly cycle in terms of clerkships from Penn, we had 86 people clerking. We're talking equivalent of a class of 240. Of that group, 10%, 25, are clerking on the United States Court of Appeals. Those are numbers that virtually any law school in the country would love to have. Last 3 years we've had 25, 26 people clerking on the Court of Appeals, which is really unprecedented. One clerking for the Supreme Court this year, one we're very much hoping will be clerking next year for the Supreme Court. We would like to have more clerks on the Supreme Court, and that's what we're focusing on. But we had 8 receiving prestigious public interest fellowships, Skadden Independence, after they graduated. It's an amazing group of students. Obviously, it's the challenges of the economy are there, but we have, I think, met them as well as anybody. It's a great time for the law school, and let me say, the success of the law school is due in large part to the people in this room and the extended community, the alumni, in so many different ways. We now have 30 different alumni clubs around the country, all sorts of different groups of alumni, and we call on them in many ways. Help recruit students, help in placing students, to come in and teach, to come in as part of conferences. The alumni have been absolutely essential as part of this process. And I should mention, as any intelligent dean would, that the alumni are also very important financially. Penn Law School has always been a great law school, but financially we have not historically been where we ought to be. And over the last 10 to 15 years, the alumni have supported us like never before, and that has made a difference in every way in terms of financial aid, in terms of our ability to expand the faculty, and in what you see around you in terms of the physical plan. So again, we talk about everything that's happened here, but so much of it is due to an alumni group that's second to none, and with 700 people coming back for the weekend, it says it all. So that's the state of your alma mater. I hope you would agree it is an institution that you should be proud of, as we are proud of you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the institution. Yes?
Do you memorialize these conferences, perhaps put them on discs and keep them in the library for people to enjoy them or study from them later on?
Almost every significant conference or lecture is videotaped and put up on the web, as long as the participants will waive any rights. But virtually every major event is, and by major that can be a lot. I mean, you can walk into the law school and see 5 different events occurring to 10 in any one day. Now there are more limited things where somebody just has a roundtable lunch and they're not. But my guess is there are a significant number. I should actually ask Neil. Neil gives me the heads up. Neil is the guy who does most of it. There are a lot of it. Turns on. I should mention, you may have noticed, for those, if you haven't graduated in the last 5 years, this room looks a little different than when you were in the law school. And we now, all of our classrooms are electronically able, so you can flip a switch and record it, so that we are able to do that without too much difficulty. Just as a brief aside, I tell the story, and it's so we renovated the old library and built classrooms there that are stunning. And for those of you who haven't seen them, I encourage you to come over there. But Princeton Review did a little piece on us, and they said, Penn Law School has the nicest classrooms in the country and the worst classrooms in the country. The nicest were those rooms over in Silverman. The worst, believe it or not, was this room that you're sitting in now, before it was renovated. And of course, Princeton, what they said was, if you're admitted to the law school, they'll show you the nice rooms, but you're going to go your first year. And I have to confess, they were right. But now we don't have to do that. These rooms, I think, are just wonderful. And technologically, you're able to videocast everything. So yes, we do put them up. Yes?
Could you comment on the increase in cost of a law school education? And I don't mean to single out Penn, because I know this is across the board for all law schools, but I'm class of '71, tuition was $3,000. Most of us got out of here without debt, or much debt, and now I understand from the website it's $45,000. That doesn't include technology fees, which we
I can tell you're a lawyer. You've looked at all the different.
But if I may just go on, the inflation adjustment from that 3,000
wouldn't put it at 40.
Is about 15.
Right. Yes. The tuition we charge is the same as our peers, the 45,000. It is complicated by a couple things. First of all, yes, we charge a very high tuition. We also give out more financial aid than we ever did when you were here. We give out huge amounts of financial aid. So there's the price of going to the school, and then there's what, in fact, people pay. And one of the great benefits of the support the alumni has given is we now, I would say, certainly close to half the student body receives financial aid. There's another piece of that, which is there's financial aid coming in the door to the law school. There's also financial aid going out, which is, suppose you don't have scholarship support coming in, you leave the law school and you go work community legal services or the Department of Justice, and you get a lower salary. We have loan forgiveness, which is, in a sense, the back end, which is if you come in, borrow a lot of money, and then don't get work in a job where you're not going to be making a lot of money, we forgive your loans. And we have, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've doubled the amount of money to loan forgiveness. We support a lot of students that way. If you combine those together, we give a lot of money in financial aid. But you're right, it is the tuition price is a little bit more than it was in 1971. This is your Penn Law students. Oh, you're going to ask number 2.
This is my last comment. This is not a question, but this is an invitation. 50 years ago, the class of '61 sat in 2 classrooms in the original building. And among those that sat in the section A was a student whose name was Stuart Feldman. He's being celebrated. He passed away in 2010, but he's being celebrated on June the 4th at the National Constitution Center, which he conceived and lived to see built. So if any of you would like to attend, the invitation is cost-free. Find me today or find me tomorrow and give me your email, and you will get an emailed invitation to attend the honorarium that's being created at the National Constitution Center on behalf of Stuart Feldman. I have just a few of, a book is being written also. I have just a few of parts of the books if you want to look at them again after Dean's presentation and tomorrow. I'll hang on to them. Thank you very much.
No, he was, I had some contact with him with the National Constitution Center. For those of you who are from out of town and have not seen the National Constitution Center, I strongly encourage you to go down. It is an amazing institution which brings the Constitution to life. The University of Pennsylvania Law School is the academic partner with the NCC, and we were involved, as Stuart was, in helping to create this in the sort of the framing of what goes on down there. There's an amazing show, and we do a series of different partnerships with them, conferences with them. We have fellows, but that was something which was the sort of a thought in his eye and several other people, and has now come to fruition, and it's a wonderful place. So it's down on Independence Mall. So
Thank
encourage
you
you.
for the
Right.
opportunity.
Yeah.
You mentioned percentages of different students from different backgrounds and different geographic areas. You did not mention the gender balance. What is it now?
It's about, well, I just got a snapshot of the incoming class next year, and it's 50, 51, 49, which is it's essentially even. We were up at about 52 male, 48, 47 for a number of years, but it's close. If you look back over the last 10, 15 years, it actually at one point went majority female for a little while and has fallen back. It's the same numbers that all of our peers have, generally. Clearly, very different. I can tell you, my daughter wanted to do a study on the changes in gender in the professions. So the only data I could get her legally was Penn Law data. So when she wrote a paper on this, and I can tell you what happened was you sort of go up to 1970, and the world is transformed between 70 and 75, when the number of women go in the class. Maybe I know you're going to be raising your hands and saying, no, it wasn't true, Mike. But it went up to about 35% in 5 years from maybe 8 or 9%. But then stayed roughly the same from late 70s at that 35 and inched up to 40. It didn't really change that much. And then it went up over 50% around the early 2000s, and then it's fallen back down. That's a long answer to the question. It's essentially 50-50 at this point at the law school. Any more questions? Well, look, I would encourage you, if you get an opportunity, to walk around the site. Please don't walk in the building, in the new construction. Risk management has told me that might not be too safe. But I hope to see all of you tomorrow evening down at the Art Museum, where we're gonna take over the museum for the evening. And for those of you I may see who have cocktail receptions afterward, it'll be good talking in more depth. But anyway, thank you all for coming back, and come back anytime. Thank you.